What is up, First fans? Welcome back to the new season. Well, not really new season. It's not really done with the old one. But it's the new season for Fantasy Football First, the channel. Last year we started off very late. This year we're going to start off very early. Very, very early, obviously. Even if it has nothing to do with fantasy football, it still has a lot to do with football, and we can still make it about fantasy football if we can. But we're definitely going to be talking a lot about the off-season stuff that's going to happen as far as free agency, obviously in this video the coaching, maybe even the draft, things like that. We're definitely going to be talking about that kind of stuff because it's just fun to talk about. So in this video we're going to be talking about the coaching changes. We're going to talk about the Giants, Bears, Broncos, and Raiders. One of the questions that I can definitely see you asking is, where's Rick? Well, Rick is definitely still with us. It's just going to be me in this video. Some of the off-season videos, it might be just me, might be just him, might be both of us. We really don't 100% know yet. We haven't really fully discussed it yet. We mainly want to know your opinion on this, so comment below. Do you like this? Do you not like this? Let me know. If you do like this, I might get a different room, definitely with a different background. I know my dog's cute, but you probably don't want to watch that. I might get something a little bit more professional. Anyway, let's get this started. I'm going to be starting with the Giants first. To start off, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be talking about the coach that they just got rid of. I'm going to grade him on how he did, and then I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to grade the coach that they just hired, and then I'm going to give my prediction on the win-loss record that I think they're going to get this season. So let's start with the Giants. They just got rid of Joe Judge. Joe Judge, in my opinion, was a terrible head coach. From the moment they hired him, I knew he was going to be a failure. I didn't even know why they hired him to begin with. He was a special teams coach from New England. I didn't really understand this. Really, every coach that comes from Bill Belichick fails. And then they got the special teams coach. I thought that was kind of weird. I thought that was one heck of an interview that guy must have had. So yeah, this guy was almost inevitable to fail. He actually had some talent to work with. He had a really good receiving core. Daniel Jones, even though he wasn't great, he was still pretty good. And then they also had Saquon Barkley, which dealt with a lot of injury. But even when he was in, he just didn't do anything under Joe Judge. And I feel like part of the problem was because of the coach, not because of him. So I'm going to have to give Joe Judge a solid F. I think he was terrible. So now they hired this new guy called Brandon Dabble. I think that's how you pronounce it, Dabble. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounce a lot of people's names. But I believe his name is Brian Daboll. Dabble. Anyway. I'm going to go over his most recent years of success. He was a tight ends coach at New England with Rob Gronkowski. With Rob Gronkowski as the tight end. And then he was an offensive coordinator at Alabama, the college, which is a very great college if you don't know. And then most recently he was the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. So he definitely got a lot of his success from a lot of the teams that he was on. It wasn't just him. But I do look at him as part of that success as well. One of the things that I look at, and I will be bringing this up quite a bit during this video, is when an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator enters a head coaching job, the offense or defense that he just came from never looks the same as the team he's going to take over. So when you look at the Buffalo Bills offense, it will look nothing like the Giants offense the next few years. One of the things that I think this guy was so successful, especially on the Bills, is that you look at the receivers and almost every single one of them got open. You look at Stephon Diggs, and he was talented. I mean, any offense he would be able to come down with the ball. But you look at even people like Cole Beasley, who is old. I mean, he's a very good receiver, but he was great. And you look at Gabriel Davis, John Brown, you look at the tight end, even the running backs, when they went downfield, they were able to get open. You look at the offensive line, was able to get open for these running backs to make big plays happen. And you can look at Josh Allen, you can look at the receivers, and I'm sure that has some to do with it. But I think a lot of it also had to do with the offensive coordinator. I think the offensive coordinator definitely had an impact on these places that he was at. So I think he's going to make an impact on the Giants, which is why I give this guy an A. I think it was a fantastic hire. I think the Giants' offense was the main part that was lacking. Now, the problem I have with the Giants team right now is their division. It's a very tough division right now. The Dallas Cowboys, obviously. Washington is a very tough team if they can just get a great quarterback. Then, they're the easy playoff contender right there. And then you got Philadelphia as well, which is also a very tough team. So it's a very tough division right now. So as far as win-loss record, it's kind of hard to give the Giants a lot of wins. So I'm going to give them an 8-9 record for this coach's first year. I think 8-9 is very fair for this coach. So now, moving on to the Chicago Bears. They just got rid of Matt Nagy, which, in my opinion, a lot of people gave him a bit of a hard time. You look at the offense, and yeah, Justin Fields absolutely sucked. But you look at Andy Dalton and Nick Foles, and you put them on any team, I don't think they would have done any worse. I don't think they would have done any better either. I think they played at the par level that they were supposed to play at. So, I think people were giving him a hard time. You also look at David Montgomery did very, very well. You also look at Allen Robinson. I think Allen Robinson did extremely well. Now, I'm not defending Matt Nagy. I think he was a terrible coach. I was actually saying that they should fire him over the past few years. I think they should have got rid of him. But I am defending the hard time that people gave him. I would say Matt Nagy, I would grade him a D. I would say he would give it a D. Now, the new head coach that they just got, Matt Eberflus, I think that's his name, specializes in the defense. Specialized in the linebacker position, to be exact. In fact, he specialized in the linebacker position over the past 20 years. As far as college and many NFL teams. He wasn't just with the Colts, he was with a lot of teams actually. And what he's most popular for is the Colts defensive coordinator the past 4 years. So, was this a good hire for the Bears? I think it was. I really do think this was. I really like this head coach. I really like him. If I gave a list of 10 prospects for coaching jobs, I would definitely put this guy in the top 10. That's how much I actually really like this guy. Not a whole lot of things on his personality, and obviously, as we see press conferences come on over time, as we see free agency and the draft, my opinion might change. But I really like this guy. I think it was a very good hire. One of the things that you got to look at is if a team has a fantastic defense, will that defense look the same on the team that they just go to? No, I don't think so at all. I think a lot of people are going to be going to the Bears defense in fantasy. I'm going to be staying away from them. I don't want anything to do with the Bears defense right now. I don't think they're going to look any better than they did last year, to be honest. I think what this guy is going to help with is Justin Fields, to be honest. Even though he's a defensive coach, I think he's going to help with Justin Fields a lot. I think he's going to focus on the passing game rather than the running game like Matt Nagy did. And it's going to help Justin Fields. It's going to help the offense. I give this guy a B+. I think this was a very good hire. I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there that could have been better than this hire. So yeah, I give him a pretty high grade. And I think the record will be 6-10-1. Yeah, I'm predicting them to get a tie. Bold prediction, but I am. I'm predicting the Bears to get a tie this year. I don't think they're going to get a lot of wins. One of the reasons why I think this might change is because you look at their division. I don't know how the Vikings are going to do. I don't know how Green Bay's going to do. And I don't know how Detroit's going to do. I think they're all a mystery. Especially, Green Bay, we don't know how Jordan Love is going to do. We don't know who the Vikings are going to choose as their head coach. And as far as Detroit, we don't know if they're going to do any better than they did this year. So it's really up in the air as far as that division. Honestly, the Bears could have a very negative record and still go into the playoffs. It could happen. So, I mean, all 6 of these wins could be their division, and they could just go into the playoffs that way. Alright, so moving on to our next guy. It's the Broncos head coach that they just got rid of, Vic Fangio. Now, I mean, I don't really think you're going to be able to ask Rick at all, but if you ask Rick, pretty much every time I talked about the Broncos failing just team, I mentioned Vic Fangio. I think the biggest problem with that team was the coach. It wasn't the quarterback, and I know a lot of Broncos fans want to blame the quarterback on this, but I don't think it was the quarterback at all. I think it was the coach. I think Vic Fangio was just not very good. I understand the hire because it was defense, but again, just like I've mentioned a lot of times, the defense is never going to look the same. So you can't hire someone based on their success. You have to hire them based on their leadership and how well they understand the game. So Vic Fangio, I give that guy a D as well. He got a lot of wins. I think they almost made the playoffs this year. They were a couple wins away from making the playoffs. So he didn't do bad. He didn't do good. Broncos were never going to make the playoffs with him unless they had fantastic talent around him. It wasn't going to be Vic Fangio that brought him there. It was going to be the team. So I give him a D. I don't think he was a failure. I think he was just kind of like a D failure. So on to the guy that they just hired, Nathaniel Hackett, the new guy. And I know a lot of people are really up in the air about this guy. I am not. I am very set in stone on this guy. I think he's going to be a failure on Denver. And this is why. So on the Jacksonville Jaguars offense, he was with Blake Bortles. Now Blake Bortles is not very good. I understand that. Not really a whole lot you can do with that offense, especially when you have Blake Bortles. And I remember a lot of injuries happening on that offense as well. So he didn't really have a whole lot of success to work with. I will note that he did have Leonard Fournette, which was very, very successful his first year. And then after that, he went to Green Bay under Aaron Rodgers, which, in my opinion, wasn't a very successful passing game outside of Davante Adams and Robert Tonyan for 1 year. You look at people like Alan Lazard, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, even Amari Rodgers, the new rookie that came out, that I was very high on. They really didn't do very good. They had trouble getting open. The only person that was able to get open really was Davante Adams. And you can just say that was based on talent. So as far as passing game, I think this guy was terrible. You're looking at a very successful passing game under Aaron Rodgers, and looking at the offensive coordinator for that, I'm sorry, I just don't agree with that. I think the passing game was successful because of the quarterback, not because of the coordinator. And then you look at Jacksonville, I don't really think this guy had much of an impact on it. As far as offenses, I don't think this guy has had much of an impact on anywhere that he's went. So, but I will note this, the success that I will say from this guy is the running game. Because he was there under Leonard Fournette, and then Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I mean, you don't just look at Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon. I mean, really, any running back. So, this guy does have a successful running game underneath him, which makes me a little bit hopeful for Javonte Williams. But you go back to what I just said, when you put an offensive coordinator and head coaching job, the offense never looks the same. So, is Javonte Williams going to be successful? I think that's a big question mark, and I actually don't know. I'm ready to avoid him, but I don't know, because he might get a lot of carries, and if he gets a lot of carries, then he's inevitable to get a lot of yards. So it's again a huge question mark. I grade this a D. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, but one of the rumors is that they got this guy because they were going to bring in Aaron Rodgers, and if that's the case, I think that's a terrible decision, because when Aaron Rodgers, let's say he does come to Denver, when Aaron Rodgers leaves, you're stuck with a bad coach. And let's say Aaron Rodgers doesn't come to Denver, you're stuck with a bad coach. So I think Denver, no matter what happens, they're stuck with a bad coach. I think the only hope that they have is getting a star quarterback, like an Aaron Rodgers or a Justin Herbert or a Joe Burrow, Mac Jones maybe, someone like that to really kind of ignite that team to success. I don't think it's going to be the coach. I give this guy 3 years. Just like Vic Fangio, I gave him 3 years. Hopefully, for Denver's sake, I hope the guy lasts less than 3 years so you can move on to someone else. But we'll see. Obviously, the offseason hasn't happened yet, so things might change. I give the record for the Broncos 7-10. I think they'll be able to get some wins, but they will not make the playoffs. On to Las Vegas. So they just got rid of Rick Bixcascio. I completely butchered that name, but they started with John Gruden at the beginning of the year, and he actually, very strong team it looked like, and then under this new interim head coach, it looked even stronger. I didn't even know how that was possible because they don't really have a lot of talent. I don't look at Derek Carr as a great quarterback. He's just good. And then the same thing with Josh Jacobs. And then they had a lot of problems with tight end injuries, a lot of problems with receiving core this year, but they still managed to not only get enough wins, they managed to make the playoffs. I actually really like the head coach that they just got rid of. I grade him a B+. I think he should get another job somewhere else. I hope someone hires him. I think he did fantastic. With the talent that he had on the team, he made the playoffs. Like that's insane in my opinion. That's like the Jacksonville Jaguars after Urban Meyer quit. That's like the Jacksonville Jaguars winning every single game. It's like, why would you fire that guy? You're winning. You're doing successful. Imagine if they actually had talent on the team. Imagine if they actually had a wide receiver to throw to outside of Renfro and Foster Moreau, because Darren Waller kept dealing with injuries. So they got rid of him. Honestly, this coaching hire surprised me. I didn't think that they were going to hire someone. I thought it was set in stone that they were just going to stick with the guy that they had that was winning. But no, they changed. So that was really weird. So they picked Josh McDaniels. This one is a bit of a weird one. This one's, I think, the biggest question mark of all four of these so far. I don't really know what to think of this. There's a lot of controversy on this guy, mainly because of what he did with Denver. Before the season even started, he traded away Jay Cutler. They got 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick, which is a lot of value. But the team ultimately went downhill. Before he traded away Jay Cutler, the offense was actually doing pretty good. I looked it up, did the stats. It was very successful. So why would he trade away someone for draft picks? It just didn't make any sense. But he got draft picks. But the Raiders right now, in my opinion, are not a very successful team. They're not a very talent-ridden team. Pardon me. Not a very talent-ridden team. So if they can get, let's say, a first-round pick for Derek Carr, I think that's actually pretty good. If they can get a second-round pick for Josh Jacobs, I think that's pretty good. So if that kind of a thing can happen to the Raiders, I think that's pretty good. On top of that, Josh McDaniels hasn't really coached for 10 years. So things might be a little different this time. Who knows? He might have learned a thing or two. Things might be a little different. Who knows? It's kind of hard to tell. This is the biggest question mark out of all four of these. So originally when I heard about this, I was ready to give him a D-. But listening or looking at it a little bit further and putting into consideration that it's been 10 years, I'm going to give him a C-. I think a C- is pretty fair for him. And I think them hiring him is good news for the Broncos because it lowers the competition of that division. which is very good. I give the win-loss record of the Raiders a 7-10. I don't really expect them to win a lot. I expect them to miss the playoffs. I think the only people in that division that are worthy of the playoffs are the Chargers and Chiefs. I don't think the Broncos or Raiders are going to make it at all. But who knows? The draft hasn't happened, the free agency hasn't happened, and the offseason hasn't happened. We don't know how these guys are going to be, the things that they're going to say that are going to, ignite us, change our opinions. We don't know. It's too early to tell. But these are my opinions so far. Again, if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Tell me, do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like my dog? Little cutie patootie? Let me know in the comments too. There's going to be more of these videos, especially I'm probably going to do a video of round 2 or wave 2 of the coaching hires, because I kind of like doing these kinds of things, so I'm going to probably do that as well. Yeah, going to be more of this kind of stuff, so yeah, stay tuned, hit that notification bell so you can be notified, and always remember to finish first.